Hello everyone, it's Sal here. A very warm welcome back to my channel. So today I am really excited to be sharing with you 8 nutty fragrances that I have in my perfume collection. But before we get started today, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more perfume videos. So the first fragrance I'm going to show you today is the wonderful Elie Saab Girl of Now. This fragrance is just amazing. It's an absolute powerhouse of a fragrance. I think it's quite strong. It's very syrupy, very sweet. If you enjoy quite dense, thick syrupy fragrances, I would definitely give this one a try. So to me, it basically smells as though you've got a lovely syrupy kind of luxurious dessert. You've got sort of pistachio notes in here, pretty sure there's almond in here as well, so they've got like different kinds of nutty notes in this fragrance. So it's really quite nice if you like nutty notes and if you also enjoy gourmand fragrances. It almost reminds me a little bit of marzipan as well, actually. It's just very kind of luxurious, very intoxicating. And also, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but the bottle I think is absolutely stunning. I mean, what do you guys think of this? Because for me personally, I think that this is like one of the nicest bottles I think I've seen. It reminds me of a kind of very Art Deco kind of style, almost like Great Gatsby, like Flapper Girl. I just think it looks very luxurious actually, the bottle and the liquid. Like I just think it looks like a very luxurious fragrance. It smells quite luxurious as well, in my opinion. Very sweet, very gourmand, very nutty actually. The nut notes in here are pretty prominent. I would say like mostly to me what I get from this is like a sweet, like nutty dessert, syrupy, thick marzipan delights, basically. The next fragrance I'm going to be talking about today is the wonderful Angel Muse. Oh my goodness, you guys, like, I mean, talk about a perfume that makes an impact. This one, you really cannot miss this. Like if you smell this on somebody, it's very distinctive. It's got a lot of character about it for sure. It's very rich, it's very sensual, it's kind of spicy, but not in an obviously spicy way, if you know what I mean. It's kind of sweet, so the main nuttiness that I get from this is from like the hazelnut, chocolate hazelnut kind of cream. What is it? Hazelnut cream, I think, is the note that's in this. So you've got your, I'm pretty sure there's like grapefruit, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a long time since I looked at the notes, but I'm pretty sure there's like grapefruit in the top notes. You've got your hazelnut cream in the heart notes, and then there's vetiver in the base notes. So it's not made up of that many notes at all, but to me this smells very complex. This smells like there's a lot going on. It's kind of, it smells quite luxurious and expensive actually to me. And I'll be honest, it's not one that I've been reaching for a whole lot, like over the last year, because I think I bought this last winter and I wore it kind of during the winter, but then like, see, when it comes to spring and summer, I just can't wear this. Like I can't go anywhere near it just because it's too heavy and it's just too warm and spicy and sweet for the spring and summer, in my opinion. But I'm very excited now because obviously we're into the winter months now. It's November, so it's getting quite cold. And it is that sort of climate that I feel much more comfortable reaching for these kind of fragrances. I would say that this is mostly sort of sweet and woody with like a kick of spice. It's not overly spicy, but it is pretty spicy, if you know what I mean. And to me, this one leans fairly masculine, in my opinion. This isn't a super feminine fragrance. I mean, I will be wearing it, and I think it's a beautiful, like really attractive, alluring scent, but just in my own personal opinion, I would much prefer to actually smell this on a guy than on like myself. But it's still beautiful and I'll still be wearing it. It's a really nice fragrance. This is probably one of the most unique fragrances I've ever smelled. Like it's that distinctive. It's really recognizably Angel Muse. Like you just can't miss it. It's pretty noticeable with the kind of hazelnut cream notes. It's really nice. I think that's what makes it quite warming. Like it's quite a warming, cozy, like winter kind of fragrance. This almost reminds me of like when you're sitting by like a warm fireplace or something like that, and you're all wrapped up in blankets and you've got like a roaring fire in front of you. It almost evokes that kind of atmosphere to me, this one. Next up in my nutty list is the beautiful Poison Girl. And you're probably thinking, you know, that's not an overly nutty fragrance, but I'll explain why it's on here in a wee minute. This one is beautiful. It's bitter orange, it's sweet, it's got orange blossom, rose, different florals, and it's got some beautiful, beautiful notes in the base. You've got your cashmere I'm pretty sure there's sandalwood, there's just loads of beautiful things. I've done an individual review on this one because I love it that much. It's one of my like favourite fragrances ever. The reason it's on this list is because there's an almond note in here, and although it is quite noticeable, but although it's not like one of the main things I'd describe this as, like I wouldn't say that this is like a nutty fragrance, but the reason that it's on here is because if you've ever smelled the eau de parfum and the eau de toilette, you might know what I mean when I say that the almond note in the eau de parfum really sets it apart from the eau de toilette. So it's one of the things about this fragrance that really gives it that depth. It really gives it quite a lot of weight, thickness, like cloudiness, and almost like a slight like powderiness as well. So the almond note in here really, really is what made that difference that actually, you know, resulted in me falling in love with it a lot, more so than the eau de toilette. I think the eau de toilette is beautiful, and it's one that I would really happily wear as like an alternative to this in the spring and summer. I think it would particularly be really gorgeous to wear in the springtime actually, but this one for me, because of that almond note, it really just elevates it. I do think that the almond note in here is something which really sets it apart from other ones, and it certainly makes it preferable to the eau de toilette in my opinion, because I don't think they have any almond note in the eau de toilette at all. It's a much lighter version. It doesn't have as many, it's not as multi-layered, it's not as complex, and it's not as like interesting to me. This one is really interesting. It's sweet, but it's also kind of bitter. It's like a sweet and sour, addictive, beautiful, almost, I don't know if you'd say this is gourmand. I think this could be considered gourmand because it is very sweet, almost like a little dessert or something like that, but it's just, it's got something very alluring about it and very intriguing, and I think the almond note really adds to that. Now another one from the Poison line, I've got my Hypnotic Poison. This fragrance, as you guys probably already know, is absolutely divine. It's wonderful. So it's like toasted almonds and vanilla essentially. But it's very intriguing because they have like lots of other unusual things in here, like there's plum, I can't remember what else is in it, but I know there's plum and like maybe some other fruits or something, and florals, and the rich vanilla, warm like toasted almond smell to it, which is just, it's just mind-blowing. It's really amazing. Goodness me, guys, honestly, this is so amazing. The only thing with this, and you've probably heard me mention it in my previous videos, this one just doesn't seem to last. I would give it like a 4 out of 10 for longevity and things like that. Like if I overspray it, which I do, like I overspray this on my clothes as well and kind of in my hair and things like that, it does last a bit longer when I do that. But a bit annoying because I've heard that the previous formulations of this were like powerhouses and they just, you didn't even need to spray that much and they were really strong. So it's a shame that it's weaker, you know, the newer formulations, but nonetheless, it's still a beautiful fragrance and I'm still happy to have it in my collection. Oh my goodness gracious me. The next fragrance that I'm going to talk about is one that I'm actually really excited to mention because kind of as I've gone through my fragrance journey, I'm starting to notice that there are like those 1 or 2 fragrances that kind of stand out along the way as being very, very influential in my fragrance like discovery, if that makes sense. Like there's some, I don't know if you ever find that, but like you try all these perfumes and then there's just like those few that you discover along the way that really have either made you love a note that you thought you hated, or they've introduced you to like a whole other genre of what something can smell like, or they've just completely given you a new viewpoint on that kind of fragrance. Well, this is one of those fragrances, and it is the wonderful Black Perfecto by Guerlain. So the reason this fragrance is so influential to me is because I Basically, before I tried this, I thought that rose was like a very boring note, and it was kind of like old-fashioned and just like meh, which is just, I can't believe I thought that, because I love rose fragrances now. I love rose as a note. I think it's beautiful. There's so many different ways that you can do rose, which I didn't realise at the time. And it was only after I tried this fragrance that I was like, hold on a minute, you know, this is a really prominent rose scent, but they've done it in such an amazing way that has just completely changed my mind on what rose can be. So, oh my goodness. Oh, good grief. So there's rose in here, very, very rich, very opulent rose. There's leather note in here. It's kind of powdery. There's like licorice, I think, as well, and there's almond. So there's a very prominent almond note in here, which gives it a very thick, cloudy, very alluring, engulfing, seductive fragrance, really. This is just really one of a kind, in my opinion. So much so that I actually have a backup bottle of this. This wasn't the first one I got, actually, so I got the 30ml in a sale, and then I discovered it. Obviously, I discovered how much I loved it, and then I went and bought the 50ml, which is this one here. So I have 2 bottles of them because it's that amazing, and like it's opaque, so you can't really see how much you've used. And I couldn't bear the thought of like running out of my 30ml, so I bought another one. That's how much I like it. But this one is amazing. So the main notes in here, I'll see if I can remember them. So there's cherry, there's rose, there's almond, and there's leather as well. So those are the main like accords in this fragrance. Every single note that I've just mentioned there, they harmonize with one another and create this amazing individual fragrance. Like every single note, like the cherry adds like a sourness, like a delicious sour cherry note. The rose is like the heart, like a voluptuous, beautiful feminine heart in this fragrance. The leather adds something very unusual and edgy, and like a different spin on like your average rose fragrance. And of course the almond adds a lot of texture. It adds that cloudy, nutty feeling to it. It adds like a nutty accord. And oh my goodness, guys, this is just amazing. So this is probably like a number one, like if I had to rate, you know, some of the best rose fragrances or some of the best like almond fragrances or whatever, you know, this would be on those lists because it's amazing. The performance is great, it's great quality, you know, as you would imagine from Guerlain, great quality. You can almost smell the quality of the ingredients. I don't know what it is. There's just something, like it smells almost like raw ingredients. Like there's nothing synthetic smelling about this fragrance whatsoever. It's very, very like as if you've got like the essences, like the fresh oils from those ingredients, like right in front of you. Particularly the rose in here, it just smells like a big, a huge voluptuous red rose, like a fresh red rose smell. It's just absolutely stunning. But yeah, like the almond note is very prominent in here. It gives it a lot of character, makes it very individual, and I absolutely adore this one. The next one I'm going to mention is one that I didn't think was going to be on this list until the other day when I realised that there was a nut note in here. And it's funny because if I didn't know that, I'm not sure if I would have picked up on it. But now that I know that there's almond in here, it's kind of, it makes a lot of sense to me. So that fragrance is the wonderful Black Opium. I absolutely adore this fragrance. I got this last winter and I gave it a miss, you know, the whole of spring and summer. I just wasn't interested in it. But now that we're back into those wonderful colder months, I have been wearing this a lot recently, like a lot. I've been reaching for this one a lot for work, just any time really, nighttime. I found it to be a really nice comforting fragrance to wear to bed, or if I go to work, or if I'm doing whatever really. It's just so nice. So this is like a sweet coffee white floral fragrance with some fruity top notes and almond. So it's a very rich, deep, heavy, strong, beautiful, flirty fragrance, and actually a lot of that depth and the thickness of the fragrance I think comes from the almond notes. There's also some licorice in here and like a black coffee note, which I think those notes together are just absolutely divine. It's very, very sweet with the vanilla, like it's a very sweet vanillic coffee kind of fragrance, but I think the almond adds something really quite stunning to this. It's really interesting as well actually, because I think it was last night I watched a review that Arlene from Delicious Delights did on this particular perfume. She didn't smell any coffee in this whatsoever, which is very surprising to me because I do get quite a lot of coffee from this one. I guess it just goes to show how kind of subjective fragrance is. Like some of you might not pick up on the same notes that I pick up on, and I find that really, really interesting. But she certainly mentioned that she didn't get any coffee from this, which I was quite surprised about. So to me, this is quite heavy on the coffee, like to my nose anyway. It's just kind of addictive. Something else which is really quite surprising to me about this is the fact that as I've mentioned it a few times on my channel, many of you have said that it just doesn't last on you. And I've actually heard in other video reviews people saying that this is weak and it doesn't last and things like that. And I'm truly shocked to hear that because this one lasts really well on me. Let me know in the comments what your experience with this fragrance is like. Does it not last at all on you, or does it last really well? Because for me, it lasts all day. When I wear this to work, I can still get beautiful wafts of it by the end of the day. I think it's pretty good quality in my opinion. Like the way that the fragrance projects and the way that it lasts and the smell of it, it all smells very good quality and it lasts to me, like it lasts on me. So let me know what your experience of this has been. But yeah, this is, oh, I'm absolutely loving this one right now, guys, seriously. So that is Black Opium. Oh, good grief. The next one I'm going to talk about today is La Vie Est Belle L'Eau de Parfum Intense. This one is a complete powerhouse. This one is actually, I don't often say this, but like this is actually what I would consider to be beast mode. I do think this is a beast mode fragrance. I'm always wary about saying that because obviously beast, you know, it implies massive, like huge performance and things like that. But actually to me, this one is definitely beast mode without a doubt. I mean, if you think about it, the original La Vie Est Belle was pretty strong in its own self. Like that was a powerhouse fragrance to me. And then they made like an intense version. So you're thinking, oh my goodness, you know, like if that wasn't the intense version, what's the intense one going to be like? And you better believe that it's intense. It is extremely strong. It lasts all day and probably longer. Like it projects. It would fill up a room probably. So if I was going to wear this, I probably wouldn't spray that much. It's one that I was really excited to pick up because I'd heard that it was going to be discontinued, so I kind of really quickly went to a Lancôme counter in the UK and I picked one up. Like they still had it then when I went, and I was really happy to be able to get a hold of one. But actually I've not been wearing it that often because it is very strong and I have to like really be in the mood for it because it's quite distinctive. So this one to me, it still has that signature La Vie Est Belle tang to it, if you know what I mean. It's very like, it's got that La Vie Est Belle structure of notes in there. Like you can probably tell it's from the La Vie Est Belle line, but this one isn't quite as bright, it's not quite as sharp, it's heavier, it's denser, it's got a lot of, it's got whipped cream notes in here and it's got hazelnut in here as well. So it's not quite as like light-hearted and kind of everyday as the original La Vie Est Belle. This one to me is more if you were really wanting to get noticed and make an impact and you were going out maybe somewhere and you wanted to get attention, you know, this is the kind of thing I'd wear in that situation. It's pretty different to the original, I would say. Like it's pretty different in a good way. I think I would probably prefer this one over the original, although I do still quite enjoy the original La Vie Est Belle. It's still quite nice. This again is one that would be really nice for the cold winter months. It's very cozy, very warming, very sweet. If you don't like kind of syrupy, sickly fragrances, then I would stay well clear of this one because it is very kind of thick, sweet, and almost a bit like syrupy in texture, if you know what I mean. It's beautiful nonetheless. I really like it, and I think if I was going out on a really cold day, and I, you know, I had like my winter scarves on and things like that, or winter coat, and it's the kind of thing like if you're going maybe to a Christmas market or something like that. Not that there's probably going to be a Christmas market this year, but you get the idea. If you're going somewhere like that, I would really enjoy wearing this. Particularly because there's that like nutty note in here which almost reminds me of like Christmas time and like Christmas markets. And the last one I'm going to talk about today is the wonderful This Is Her. So it's kind of funny because this is a complete almost like wild card in a sense because it's so different to all of the other ones I've mentioned. Pretty much every one I've talked about in this list has been like sweet, kind of cozy, thick, you know, dense, that kind of a fragrance. This one is like completely different. This is like, it reminds me of going on a snowy expedition. It reminds me of like a blast of like fresh cold air, like mountain air, that kind of thing. It's very fresh. It leans fairly masculine in my opinion. It's not a super feminine smelling fragrance, I don't think. It's nutty, but not in the way that you would expect. It's a very, very fresh, kind of cold smelling, masculine leading fragrance with an interesting sort of chestnut note in here. So it's got your chestnut, your jasmine, very, very woodsy, very kind of fresh and woodsy, with some sandalwood, whipped cream. It almost reminds me of like the texture of shaving foam, fresh cold air, snow, that kind of thing. It's really, really nice. I wore this to work one day and it gave me a kind of kick up the backside, if you know what I mean. It's a very get up and go, if you need woken up, like if you're just, yeah, if you need a kick up the backside basically, and you have like a really busy day and you need to get stuff done, this would do the trick, I think. This is a very kind of professional, quite like almost what I'd consider maybe a boss lady kind of fragrance. It's really quite nice. I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if I really love it. I mean, it's kind of more, it's one that would be nice to wear to work, but it's not one that I like relish wearing, if you know what I mean. It's not one that every time I smell it I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so nice. It's not one of those ones, so I haven't quite decided whether I'll be like holding on to this one yet. I think it might end up being a Christmas present for my sister because she really does like this, like she really, really enjoys this one, so I might just like gift it to her or something. I haven't quite decided, but it definitely had to feature on this list because it's got a chestnut note in here, which I think is pretty prominent, but it's really, really different to every single one I've mentioned in this list so far. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to end on this one. So that is Zadig & Voltaire, This Is Her. I really enjoyed making this video because that's actually one of my favourite like notes ever. I love a nut note in a fragrance. It adds something really special. It gives fragrances a lot of character, I find. It makes them really addictive. It's just really, I love that kind of note in a fragrance. Let me know if you also enjoy nutty scents. And if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd absolutely love it if you would. I make about 2 new videos every single week all about fragrances. So if you love fragrances just as much as I do, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. And I will see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys. Bye.